Hi, it's Chef Rick, and today I'm making a risotto.
This is going to be a chicken and spring onion risotto. So we're going to start with the chicken breast, which I want to have as shredded chicken. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to boil it. First thing I do is to take the chicken breast, feel along the joints. If there's any tough bits at all, just give those a slice, get rid of them so it's all lovely, perfect breast meat. Into a large pan, we're going to add stock. I'm making a large amount of risotto here, so in the description all the quantities and everything will be there, but then you can like totally scale it down for the amount that you're making, but this is a big portion. So in goes the chicken stock, and into the chicken stock go the chicken breasts, just normal skinless chicken breasts, which, as I say, we've trimmed off any of the kind of tougher edges. They're going to boil away for about 10 minutes. It's really all it takes. So about 10 minutes later, you don't obviously want to overboil these, but clearly you don't want to go under. I think these might have been 10 to 12 minutes, but you're looking around that sort of time. Take that stock off the heat now and keep it, because you are going to use that for the risotto. There's the boiled chicken breast, not the best looking thing in the world, but let those cool and then you'll see that they pull apart really nicely and shred perfectly. So we've said in previous videos, in the brisket, whenever something says pulled, like pulled pork, pulled chicken, pulled brisket, it's this process now, just pulling it, literally pulling the meat apart. And if you want to do that with chicken, if you want pulled chicken, the best way is to boil it first. Whilst I'm pulling all that chicken apart, you know what I'm going to ask. If you don't subscribe to my videos, please hit subscribe at the bottom. Only if you want to, of course. I do 3 of these a week. And also, if you like them, please hit the like button. Thank you so much in advance if you choose to do that. So that's the chicken now, all shredded, all pulled. Nearly. There we go. And we're going to chop an onion. Feels like we do this in most videos, but we'll show you how to do it. Peel it, chop it in half through the root, keeping the root attached to the onion. That's going to stop you crying. And then just chop down, without going right to the back where the root is, chop down through the onion. Last couple of ones, remember, carve into it slightly, just so you don't go into your thumb or into your finger. So you just carve into it slightly, just a short carve, just to make sure you found the groove, and then chop down. Nice and safe. And then because we're going to go for cubes, we also want to chop into it sideways. So just take your time doing this, and you see, just move your fingers out of the way, just very slowly carve into it, and just keep moving your fingers out of the way. So even if you slip, your fingers are already out of the way. And then slice down, and that's going to give you a lovely finely diced onion. So you'll end up with a nice small dice like that, which is absolutely perfect for what we want. And there it is, there's your onion. Spring onions, this is going to be a chicken and spring onion risotto. So I'm going to cut this like fairly big chunks in it, because I want kind of bite-sized pieces of spring onion, as well as all that lovely spring onion flavour. If you are just going to use spring onion in risotto and want it to just be, add a bit of colour and the taste without too big chunks, obviously just chop it nice and finely like we've done in previous videos. But you'll see this one, I've topped and tailed the spring onions, sort of like that, ready to prep. All of that bit there is edible, and then chop it into nice big chunks like this. Because they'll cook down with the sauce, but they'll still taste. They'll still have texture to them. They'll still be kind of crunchy and delicious and nice. So yeah, that's what I'm doing for this one. And if you just want to make a risotto bianco, just a white risotto, just a plain white risotto, you wouldn't do. You don't need the chicken or the spring onion. This is a chicken and spring onion risotto. So here we go. We're going to wash the rice. So the risotto rice, or whenever you're washing rice, this is what you're doing. You're putting it in a sieve, and seeing that the water underneath runs. You can see in your hand there, but I think I'll show you for the purpose of this. I'll catch some water in a glass, and you can see what's coming off there. That water's got starch in it, so it's kind of cloudy. So what you want to do is just keep rinsing this under the tap until you see the water that we're catching there, it's completely clear. Don't get a glass. This is so I can show you on the video. If you cup your hand underneath, you'll see in your hand whether or not there's still cloudy water. And so you want to get rid of that, because the starch is what makes it sticky. This is the stock from earlier on. I transferred it to a smaller pan because the pan I did the stock in, I want to actually cook the risotto in. So that is just literally like those stock pots that you get from the supermarket that's had the chicken boiling in it. So it's actually a really lovely chicken stock. Into the pan, extra virgin olive oil and the chopped onions. Get those all nicely covered in the oil. This pan wants to be on a medium heat, low to medium. You certainly don't want these onions to catch and brown or stick and go all caramelized. You don't want that at all. You just want them lovely and soft and going nice and translucent, because this is the total base for everything that we're going to do here with this risotto. And in goes the rice. And don't put any liquid in yet. Don't put any liquid in at all. The first thing you want to do is just get the rice and onions all combined. And the fact that there was a little bit of oil in there, and obviously those onions have released some liquid, that's going to go into the rice as well. But at this point, just keep it all mixing around. Just get them warm. Get the rice to kind of, well, warm up, I think, is the best way of putting it. We're not looking to really start cooking this just yet, but that's your rice and onion base. And then the first liquid we're going to pour in is white wine. Use a dry white wine, like a Pinot Grigio. Obviously, it's very easy to get hold of, and the label's dead clear. So even if you don't know your wines, you can easily get, you can buy a bottle of Pinot Grigio. But that's a dry white wine, and it's perfect for something like a risotto. So the first thing we do is pour that in. I used half a bottle, but again, I'll use the right quantities for you. And you can see the test that we always do, where we run that spatula along the bottom of the pan. You can see that after about 5 minutes, it's been almost totally absorbed by the rice and onion mixture, which from now we'll just call the rice mixture. So now it's probably had another couple of minutes, and you can see it's really absorbed it now. Earlier on when we poured that in, that was just like total liquid. This is how you're going to cook a risotto all the way through. So there's no more wine being added. Everything we're going to add from this point on is stock. So we're just going to keep adding stock bit by bit. Again, I think I might have 2 or 3 large ladles in. Saffron, I put the saffron in early because it adds colour and flavour. So I'll add the saffron in at this point. And you just keep mixing it. You can see how wet that is. In fact, this has already started to dry. You can see as I scrape along the bottom there, you can see the bottom of the pan. So let's add a bit more stock. And then when we start to mix it, you'll see that's where every time we add stock, it'll be like that, like a liquid, like a soup with rice floating in it. And before you know it, even though this is on, as I say, a low to medium heat, all that rice is going to absorb that stock. And you'll suddenly start seeing that when we do that test where we scrape the spatula along the bottom of the pan, that you end up seeing the bottom of the pan, so you can tell that it's been absorbed. So that's still fairly liquid. You want to just keep it moving. You cannot leave a risotto and go off to another room. You have to kind of stand over it and work on it. The whole thing probably takes about 20 minutes, start to finish, from when you add in the stock to the rice. In go the spring onions. We're probably about halfway through cooking at this stage, but I want the spring onions in there now so they do soften a little bit. Otherwise you are going to have really far too crunchy spring onions, especially the size I've cut them there. Adding more stock. Just keep mixing it, just keep working it. Don't let it over bubble, don't let it get too hot. Keep it on that nice heat. It will just keep on absorbing and just getting kind of creamier and thicker. Again, you can see how that's now thickened up nicely. As we do the scrape test. You see the colour as well, that yellow come through, that's the saffron. It's made it that beautiful yellow. Now in goes the shredded chicken, because I want it to have its kind of final last bit of cooking within the sauce, within the risotto, and I also want that chicken to impart flavour as well into the actual the risotto rice and sauce itself. That all gets mixed through. Just a bit more stock. So now we're gonna have to test a couple of tests that we're gonna do here. We're gonna test for seasoning, of course, but then we're also gonna test to see whether that rice is done. Of course, you just pop a little bit in your mouth and you can taste it. But I'll show you the kind of a bit of a foolproof way of testing it. You can see how thick that got then, just because I'd let it go on just a tiny bit too long without adding the stock. But you can see instantly bring it back to life by adding the stock. So you don't need to be too kind of precious about it, but do make sure that it doesn't come dry. So here's that test. So the first thing I'll do is I'll take a piece of rice out. And if you can squeeze it between your fingers with not much pressure and it doesn't turn completely to mush, but it kind of stretches out the piece of rice like that, that's perfect. That's going to have a little bit of bite to it. So, as the Italians say, al dente, with a bit of bite, but it's still lovely, soft and smooth. And then a classic taste test, obvious taste test here. This is for seasoning. This requires just a little bit of salt, plenty of black pepper. Obviously stock is salty, so don't just assume you know how much pepper and salt it's going to need. Always give it a taste. Plenty of black pepper. Don't forget this is a massive bowl here. Although add as much black pepper as you like. I love black pepper. So we give that a good stir around. I want it wetter than I'm going to present it, than I'm going to serve it at this point. So you want it wetter than you want to serve it, because the final ingredient and the last thing that's going to thicken this is Parmesan cheese. So you add the grated Parmesan. If your risotto was at the stage where you wanted it consistency-wise, texture-wise, it would be quite thick, you add that Parmesan and it's just going to double thicken, and you don't want to serve anything kind of gloopy. It still wants to be a little bit loose. So yeah, you want to get it to wetter than you would have had it, and then the final thickening agent is the Parmesan. That's a risotto there. That's made. I'm just going to mix that all around nicely so that all that Parmesan finds its way all around the outside. Give it another taste at that stage if you want, if you feel you need to add more Parmesan or anything else like that. But I think this was pretty much perfect for where I wanted it. Take it off the heat. As and when you're ready to serve. Doesn't matter if you serve it in a big bowl, in like a flat plate like this, as rustic as you like. It's probably not the prettiest risotto in the world, but it's delicious. Top it with a little bit of fresh Parmesan cheese and a bit more black pepper. And finally, just some very good extra virgin olive oil over the top, and that is a risotto. That's a chicken and spring onion risotto. Absolutely delicious, super creamy, quite authentic. I really hope you enjoy making it, and thank you so much for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.